You straddle the gap between Han and tribe, King Shamoka, which brings great opportunity and great peril. You cannot show weakness now. The Han will respect you, or fear you, if they must. Nearby Wuling is fertile land. Taking it will benefit you, and push the Han back to the riverbanks. Though it might incite the Empire's ire, the tribes will respect such action, although they are not inclined towards you at present. Dorsa is the nearest thing to an ally. Keeping him friendly will be key to managing the other tribes. Whether with your words or your might, they must be contained, even controlled. They will need a leader if they are to survive the coming chaos. And who better than you? You stand upon the edge of two worlds, King Shamoka, and with the wisdom and strength granted you, you could rule them both.
Hello, Monsters Abound here, back with some more Total War 3 Kingdoms and a brand new upcoming DLC, The Furious Wild, which comes out September 3rd. Now, it should be noted, Creative Assembly have given me a key for early access. So the Furious Wild introduces the Nanman, or the Southern Barbarians, and this brings a wealth of new units and interesting mechanics to try out, including tigers and elephants. Now, there are 4 playable lords for the Nanman: Lady Jurong, who has tigers and people who have either accidentally or maybe even on purpose set their weapons on fire, plus more tigers. They're not on fire though. And then you have Mulu, who has a big old bell for some reason, I don't know why. He also likes elephants, who can blame him. And finally you have Meng Huo, who likes to get captured, but who also brings a lot of heavy infantry, spears, and even more elephants. But fuck that, because we're going to be playing as Shimoka, a lord who starts with such treats as slightly better slingers than normal, like very slightly. Sword people who are good against characters, and we all know how good those guys are, and being sarcastic never do much damage to characters, all in all. He also has some axe guys who, actually, they're pretty legit. Also, because he's like half Nanman and half Hanman, his generals like him less. So why play Shimoka? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, he starts off with a ruddy great mace, and due to the new trait system, which we'll look at in a minute, he can really mash people's faces in with it. Also, he starts in a fairly interesting location, with some interesting expansion possibilities. Plus, I quite like his mechanic, which we'll have a look at in a minute, where you get sort of bonuses depending on whether you smash and subsume other tribes or vassalize them. And doing so is a big part of playing the Nanman in the Furious Wild. The Bloodshot Lord. You sit at the border between north and south, but are of neither. You have fought your way to power through guile and skills at arms, bringing both Nanman and Han to heal where they oppose you. The power vacuum grows, and you must be ready to fill it. But you must act swiftly, or others shall assume the mantle, which is rightfully yours. So, do we choose the path of domination or cooperation? We must unite the tribes, or seize the mantle of Emperor. We must act as haste, or be torn asunder. We've got a mission issued here, so there are many Nanman who call themselves kings. True kings rise on the battlefield. Do not give others a chance to claim victories destined to be their own. So, Unification Mandate represents your ability to conquer and state as a conqueror or statesman, and permanent faction bonuses through direct subjugation of other Nanman factions. Rapidly conquering tribes maximizes potential rewards. So, we need to destroy or vassalize the following faction, these jerks over here. Now, so, the tribes of the Nanman. Tribal fealties. So, this is a really interesting mechanic that the Nanman bring to play. So, currently we are Shimoka. So we have here the Lord of the Five Valleys. So this is our tribal fealty. So we get some extra prestige, we get additional armies, we get some research rate, we get more tribal council petitions, we can unlock the units, the Might of the Valley, that's our Axie boys, the Wulang fighters, that's the good guys against characters, and the Wuling slingers, who are the slightly better slingers. That's fine. So that's what we start off with. And we've also got, I mean, if we have a look at Dosai here, so this is the guy that was mentioned, the flyover, so he's here, so his tribal fealty is more prestige, he gets available armies, research rates, more council tribe positions. He also unlocks units, the Hidden Vipers, Poison Darts, and Poison Spears. So, if we either conquer or vassalize Dosai, we will get his stuff. Now, let's say, for example, Meng Huo here, who, if his tribal fealty, more prestige, available armies, research rate, blah, blah, blah. So there's the Nanzhong Cat Champion Spearmen and the Nanzhong Elephants available for recruitment. Let's say that Meng Huo confederates or conquers Dosai. In that case, Meng Huo gets his stuff. If we then conquer Meng Huo, we get both of their stuff. So that's how you sort of... So even though we start with a fairly shit, special list roster, it's not a real big problem, because eventually we'll end up with all the shits. Ideally, anyway. So it's kind of like... We need to conquer all this stuff, because there's a few really good... I mean, there's Lady Zhurong there, so we'll get Followers of the Flame, Tiger Warriors, Tiger Slingers, if we conquer her. There's also minor tribes, so these guys don't usually give units, but some do. So, for example, more melee damage, faction-wide there. There's a wolf pack. Those guys are quite good, actually. The wolf pack are spear units who... I think it's like if there's 2 units, like if there's another unit of wolf pack nearby, they get bonuses. So you have to like use them together. Cool, that's really interesting. It says recruitment reduction, extra range damage, increased range block chance, melee defense, fire archers there, axe throwers, and it's all pretty good. And so we've got basically there's 7 primary tribes. So there's us and then 6 others, and there's a bunch of like smaller tribes as well. And they all start in this new area of the map, which has been sort of carved out here. And they also start around here. Now, the Nanman tribes are incredibly aggressive. They will go for you. So do not expect to make many friends, or at least I don't. However, our faction mechanic is the Unification Mandate. So the more factions we conquer, the better bonuses we get. So we get up to 10, and the more factions we vassalize, the higher the bonuses we have. Now, these factions need to stay vassalized. So if we vassalize one and then they get wiped out, that'll drop. The domination, obviously, you'll always keep that because they'll forever be dominated. They won't pop back up, for example. Now, there is a slight issue here, because if we have a look at these guys...
I am not in the mood.
Indeed. Now, if we try and vassalize them, these guys have the Defiant trait because they've got an aggressive personality, which means they will never stay subordinate, opposes power, dislikes all larger aggressive factions, which means if we try and vassalize them, basically give them half a chance, they will break away again. There's very little chance that we'll keep them vassalized. There are going to be factions littered around that we can vassalize, so we need to sort of like hit them, and the faster we do this, the better, because the other tribes will be around conquering the minor tribes as well. And the longer we leave it, the less tribes there will be to conquer. Now, let's have a look. What do we start with? Anything good? Cryptographer, Philosopher, Devious Intent. Nope, that's garbage. Right, brilliant. Fuck, never mind. Right, the other thing is that the Nanman generals, there's a few changes here. The first is that when you level up...
Mimic the mountain and remain steadfast.
Oh, I'll try. When you level up, you get to dump a skill point into one of these. And this will increase your stats by 10, basically. You don't get skills or traits like you previously did. So the Nanman characters get them based on accomplishments. So, for example, Butcher. So if they kill 300 people, you'll get 10% melee armor piercing damage. 600, you get 20%. 900...
delivered to us another saving grace.
Great, glad to hear it. 30%. Now this works out quite well for Shimoka because his weapon is purely armor-piercing damage. It means that he will do a lot of armor-piercing damage when and he will kill a lot of people very quickly. And so basically, it's very hard to get people to duel him because he just like 3-shots people, which is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing, but it is a bit tricky. So you get like these traits. So there's like tribal hero there, so that's fight duels with characters. That's going to be very difficult for us because obviously they won't want to duel us. There is win battles with this character. That's fairly straightforward. Recruit captive generals after winning the battle. That's fair enough. That's the killing people one. Diligence is as a cave lord, construct buildings and commandery. So they are basically the what do you call them? These guys, administrator positions. There we go. That's what those are. Win defensive battles there. Infantry chief, increase the recruit rank of infantry units in this character. So that will reduce the upkeep for your units once you get 30 additional ranks. Of course, each individual unit can get 9 ranks. So that's not as tough as it might first sound. Missile chief there, so that's for doing it with missile units. And this is for release of captive generals. There's increased rank of cavalry and animal units. And cavalry are very hard to get as Nanman. Win offensive battles. Fight battles alongside reinforcements, fight ambush battles, occupy settlements, and then fight siege battles with this character, all of which will then give you those traits. The other thing to note is that they're sort of like, well, I don't know what you call this. I guess it is like a trait.
Mountains impose without action.
That's true. So these will level up. So currently he's the ruler of the 5 valleys. As he ranks up, that will actually change. Same with Sai here, who is his BFF. So he's a basic bastion. As he levels up, he'll become basically he'll get better stats, and he'll also get different abilities based on that. So that's how you get sort of like usable abilities, basically leveling up. You'll just generally get them. As you can see, he's got a skill point here in Vanguard. Now, Shimoka starts off with quite a good set of traits. So he starts off with Modest, which reduces his retinue upkeep by 15%. Perfect. He's also Trusting and Patient, so that's all pretty good. He also starts with Kai here, who is Understanding. He's Arrogant, not as good, but he's also Patient, so that is, you know, not too bad. So fairly good start with the characters. Unfortunately, we didn't start with any kind of like really good stuff, which is a bit of a pain. I guess what we can do is give Shimoka the Philosopher, because that will give more satisfaction faction-wide. Because if we have a look at Shimoka, we can see he actually reduces satisfaction by 10 for every Nanman leader that we have under us, because he's not a proper Nanman, basically. He's a Hanman. We get a stone pig to start off with. I'm going to give that Kai. You can have that. There you go. Off you go, Miss Lady. There you go. Perfect. Okay, we also start with some other characters as well. We start off with Mengli, who is our sister, I believe. Yes, she is. Now, you might think that because obviously it's pointed us towards making getting friendly with Dosi here. This guy is paranoid and he's a warrior. Now, you might think, well, maybe we should like marry her. So you can offer marriage and you might be able to get some stuff for that. Don't do that, because there is an event later on where you can marry her off to him. So don't jump the gun on that one. Just let it happen. So we're going to start off. We've got an enemy to our north here. I mean, we've got a couple of enemies. And our starting province is actually a bit weird. In the first settlement is over here. The second settlement is actually all the way down here. And that's actually quite a bugger to get to. So we'll probably not attack that one for a little while. But we will start off by attacking this guy. But first, we should do our research. We've got reforms here. And the reform trees, again, very, very interesting. I mean, I love the look of it. It's really nice. And we start off with this elephant taming one here. So we'll receive an element, which can elephant, which can be equipped as a mount. So sure, we'll take that one. And the different characters that you start off with get access to sort of different techs to start off with. And you actually have some locked here. So this technology will be locked until you unite all the tribes. This one here. We do get the sort of like the political techs slightly better for Shamoke. So they can go down slightly deeper than we would otherwise. However, you might see that as we go down the tech tree, we kind of have a choice here. So we can go for trade hubs, but that blocks off methods of unification. So this will give us options to have non-aggression pacts, military access, and trade agreements with non-Nanman factions. This one will unlock diplomatic relations with non-Nanman factions, but also give us extra trade influence in comparison to more diplomatic relations with Han. And then that kind of like, I believe this then leads down into sort of like these techs as well. I've not got too far down the tech tree, but ultimately your choice is quite different. So you can either get more diplomatic relations with all factions, more character experience, diplomatic relations with Han Empire factions, and unlock the diplomatic option to join empires. Alternatively, you get at the start of each turn for every faction you have a treaty with, you'll gain visibility over the region containing one of their armies at random, and also reduction of character salary and more trade influence. So what you go for here
Harvest comes once
is going to
more.
be up to sort of how you want to play your campaign, which is quite interesting. For example, this one here. So we don't actually start off with the ability to recruit any cavalry. However, you can get the option to recruit some cavalry. Alternatively, you can just like go down the I don't need cavalry, I'll just have more elephants, thanks method. So there's some real difficult choices to be made in this tech tree, which is really interesting. But first we just get an elephant, which is pretty cool. So we'll just get an elephant. Okay, let's go and kill this jerk.
Spread in all directions.
Yeah, but first this way. Okay, obviously first battle of the campaign. We're always going to fight it. First battle of the campaign. It's time to have a look at some of our units, which is very, very exciting. Can't wait. So, right, starting off. So here's the Nanman warriors. So this is your basic sort of infantry unit. They look pretty great. Wearing a lovely purple. Absolutely fantastic. Trotting through the grass there. Very, very nice. Then we have the Might of the Valleys. This is one of Shimoka's special units. These guys are armor piercing and pretty good on the charge, and they do get very good later on. So the more sort of like benefits you pick up from confederating or defeating enemy tribes, you do get some big bonuses, and these guys will suddenly become incredibly potent. Then we have the Luling Fighters. Now these guys are good against characters, Slayer of Heroes, so they get additional bonus against fighting characters. It's a bonus that I've never really seen pay off very much, but they're not bad frontline fighters, so it's generally fine. They're pretty much on par with the Nanman warriors, but they get a bonus for fighting characters, so generally fine. And we've got the Wuling Slingers here. So these guys are slightly better slingers. They've basically got heavier armor, which means in a missile duel with enemy slingers, they are going to come out on top. So although they're only slightly better, it will like help you against enemy tribes pretty early on. And then we've got Shimoka himself. There he is, looking absolutely dapper. He's got a big old mace. He's got some bloody face paint. He's got a bow on his back as well, which he doesn't actually have equipped at the moment. However, that event I talked about where you marry your sister to Dosai, whatever his name is, that guy, the creepy old bastard. Well, he's not really old, just creepy. He's just a creepy bastard. Anywho, that guy will then also give you a unique bow as well if you marry a sister to him. So well worth the trade. And then we've got Kai there as well. So he's just a bog standard Nanman general. Looking pretty good. I do like the way they've done them. I don't know if it's historically accurate, but it certainly does look pretty nice. Now, one of the main problems we have as Nanman is our limited cavalry. And normally because cavalry in Three Kingdoms is very, very potent. And the last thing you want is to receive a cavalry charge. So normally the best way of dealing with cavalry is with cavalry of your own, or at least I've found it has. Obviously without cavalry, that makes it a little bit tricky. So I'm going to send Shimoka and Kai in to deal with the enemy cavalry, or at least take their charge, because they won't take much damage from it, whereas our infantry certainly would.
You fight with spirit, but it will not save you.
Actually, I'm fighting with a ruddy great mace, mate. So our infantry now advancing up. And Shimoka has a special ability which basically makes units faster and gives them additional charge bonus. So as soon as these lads are in range, we're going to pop that as well. And then they're going to get a nasty, there we go, swift steps, increasing speed and reducing fatigue. So they're going to slam into these Saber Militia. and it's going to be pretty brutal.
Unleash fury.
It's going to be a bit messy. The enemy archers doing a little bit of damage to us. Our slingers holding back. The slingers have very, very short range. So they've only got a range of 100, whereas these archers over here have a range of 180. So they're almost double the range. But they don't really have enough units to stop us. So our Nanman warriors are just going to chase them down. And Shimoka has found the enemy general and beaten him senseless with his ruddy great mace, almost killing him in about 3 hits. So the enemy strategist is legging it, hotly followed, but not really required, since it looks like most of his army is on the retreat anyway. Fairly easy battle to start off with, but don't worry, there will be tougher battles
Our victory was
very, very soon. We have captured him now. Because he's the faction leader, we can't employ him, but we can employ Han generals. I don't know if that means they can recruit Han units, but if so, that could be very useful. So, you are dutiful, loyal, and arrogant. I could execute you, but shall I execute him? Fuck. I'll take the cash. I could use it.
back to your master.
I'll take the money as well. Thanks very much. Thank you. Oh, apparently died anyway. Oh well. Life's full of disappointments. Okay, so we're going to move on to take this settlement. But we do start off with a capital, a province capital here. And currently we're making not much money, but most of the money we are making comes from population. I found, definitely early on, it makes more sense to build your population than do literally anything else. So, we have some so this population growth, so that's actually quite good. We can go up to 300k. I think we should upgrade so we can go to 400k. We don't have a lot of money, but I think, I mean, the replenishment would be nice. A little bit of extra food, which we're not particularly bothered by at the moment. Yeah, let's do this first. Let's upgrade the settlement. It's going to take 4 turns, which is, you know, a little while, but I think it's definitely worth the effort early on. I'm wondering if we can actually, like, negotiate.
Glad to see you.
Do you have any interesting ancillaries? You've got a shaman. Oh. I kind of want a shaman. Can I have a shaman? I'll trade you a shaman. How about cryptographer? Because we can't spy, so what about that? What about, how would I make this work? Oh, you just want my thing. No, I want your shaman. Give me your shaman. I want your shaman before you put it on someone. What's this one? A eunuch. Oh, I don't want them. What about if I give you both of these guys? Because, to be honest, I don't want either of them. Really? Oh, come on, mate. What about if I could... What about military access? That just is worse. Okay, well, I guess we won't have a shaman. Fine. Fine, keep your shaman. See if I care. I do care. I'm really cut up about that. I really want a shaman. I could trade my sister, but we will get a special event later on which will allow us to vassalize him if we give him our sister. So I may as well just do that. Okay, let's go and take this settlement. It's a close victory, to be honest. There's only 4 enemy units, so I think we'll just delegate that one.
Fight with utter belief.
Yes, also just take the city. Thanks very much. Okay. Took a bit of damage, but we're fine. Now, so we have these Wuling slingers. We can get normal slingers. You can see the difference between the Wuling and the Nanman slingers there. It's not much difference, I'll be honest. The Wuling slingers have slightly more armor. That's and less armor piercing sort of melee attack. That's about the only difference between them. They're slightly better. But slingers aren't bad They are quite short range, but they're not a bad unit, and they can do a lot of damage if you get them around the flanks. So that's an option. Nanman Spearmen, we probably don't need Spearmen this early on. They are mostly anti-infantry and, you know, anti-elephant. But we won't run into elephant units just yet, so I don't think that's a particularly good shout. Now, as much as I was down on the Wuling fighters, they are somewhat better in melee, kind of. I mean, it's pretty hard to tell. I could do the comparison, but I can never work out which is which. I mean, you know, it's it's hard to tell, really. They're fairly similar. Who's likely to have the better shooty? So we're probably gonna go predominantly authority, but maybe instincts for Shamoka. Kai, it's mostly got expertise. I mean, there's no reason we can't mix and match for the moment. So let's get maybe a couple of Wuling slingers here. And I do quite like the Might of the Valley. They're quite good. So we'll get one of those and maybe another Wuling slinger just to tide us over. Okay, so far so good. It's not much to do really, apart from just sort of do some recruitment and heal up. Obviously, we're at war with that guy. I'm going to call him Jin. We're at war with Jin. We're also at war with these guys down here, but they're not very aggressive. In fact, they're barely aggressive at all, so they won't actually come and attack us for quite a while. So we're fairly safe. That seems fine. That seems fine with me. I could get another. No, I'm not going to get more slingers. Going to hold off. We've still got 2 turns for that. So early game, spending a little bit of time doing some recruitment, getting those units up, just to give us enough power to deal with this. So here comes Jin. Now, the Han falters. A courier is brought for you, not to the Nanman, but of the Han. His route south to deliver news to Shi has led him astray into your lands. Information is a valuable commodity, and with some hospitality and wine, the courier shares with you news of internal strife within the Han. Men with ambition seek to grow their power. The weak are consumed, and those who act with wisdom may survive or even prosper. Over the course of the evening, you apply what information you can of your imperial neighbours. Good to know. Okay, so we can't reach him just yet. But if we just meander down here, I reckon he might go for us. His army's smaller. He's only got one. It's just him. He's currently a loyal lieutenant. Look at that. Look at that. And he's got a family spear. And special armor as well, because he is like a king. So he's currently got 2 settlements. So we need to knock these out. Now, what I like to do is come down and take this one, and then come up and take this one. So that's what I'm going to do. He also is likely to attack us. Very likely, in fact. He's either going to attack us, or he's going to encamp. That's his options. He's coming for us. Fair game. It says a close victory, but a victory nonetheless. So we have been attacked. As I did say, the Nanman factions are very aggressive. Very, very aggressive. If you end up next to one on the campaign map, assume you're going to be at war with them fairly soon. It's probably the safest bet. They are super aggressive, and they will come for you. Just as old Jin here has. So this is one of our enemy chieftains. He's got a lovely hat. And some unique armor, which is nice. And a spear. Our army looking a little bit ragged, since we've only just recruited some of them, and they're still replenishing up, but no problem. So Nanman warriors advancing, our slingers raining stones down on their head as they advance, doing some fairly good damage. It should be noted that the might of the valley do have this berserk trait, so if their health is below 50%, they get massive increases to their melee damage and armor piercing and melee attack. And that the Wuling fighters have a tribal pride, so if they're in combat with an enemy general, they do get increased melee damage and armor piercing. So Kai, right in the mix there, fighting the Wuling fighters. No, he is Wuling fighters. He's fighting the Nanman warriors, sorry. And Shimoka has engaged Jin. Unfortunately, I charged him straight into spears, and he got knocked on his ass. But that's fine, because he's got a ruddy great hammer. And sometimes actually being on foot is probably better, because they do tend to attack slightly more regularly. And yep, a few hits, and Jin is off. That hammer, that mace he's got is absolutely brutal. Honestly, it's absolutely savage, the amount of damage he can do with it. Our slingers engaging the enemy slingers and winning due to their slightly increased armor. Wrecking them. It should be the slingers have an awful lot of ammunition. They start off with 62 shots, and I think they're pretty fast on the reload as well. However, with their king defeated and fleeing, the rest of Jin's army join him in, well, legging it as fast as they can. Okay. Yep. Get a good feast. And a spear. Thanks for that. I'll take that one. And a little stone picky. I'm going to take the replenishment because we're going to need that. Now, he's going to run away. Off he goes. Going to hide in the trees over there. Good luck to you.
Trust instinct.
And we have increased our power. We are now a chieftain. Excellent. So we can have a look at the faction summary here. We can see we are a chieftain. We're now working on Lord of the Valley. Now, Shimoka has a choice to make because he can actually become emperor. Unlike the other Nanman lords, they can just get the Nanman kingdom. Shimoka can actually go to become emperor because he's obviously sort of half Nanman, half Hanman. And so you kind of have two different options on how to win the game, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to go with more melee damage. I think I'm tempted to go with authority, but I think we're just going to go with that for the moment. And also we can give you a little stone piggy. There you go. It didn't seem to like it, but you know, it's fine. And you can swap out your axe for a nice big spear. Never let it be said I don't give you anything. I guess you can have that because why not?
Let our passions rise with our pride.
Okay, let's go and finish off Jin. Just delegate that one, I think. Laters.
Celebrate! Our victory was just.
Indeed it was. Okay, take the replenishments.
Channel passion.
And we need to move on ASAP because we need to take out... Oh, we've got a professional's raiment. I don't think we can equip that. I believe that is... I believe we just get the tribal armor. I don't know if that upgrades like the yellow turbans or whether we can get better armor. Not 100% sure.
Do so would be madness.
Would it? I don't think it would. I think you'd be fine. Let's go with maybe one of those. What I do need to do is Shamoke starts off unmarried. So we need to get him married. We need to get him hitched. ASAP. Dai Wen is a lady. A newcomer warrior. Interesting. Doesn't start off with anything particularly interesting. So you get increased melee attack rates. You're immune to scaring. What about you? An untried bureaucrat. Increased population growth. Oh, that would be quite useful. You also start with an astronomer. Alright, I guess. So we get die or die. We have an option of 2 dies. I'm tempted to go for the untried bureaucrat because we can pop her in our settlement and she's going to boost our population growth and income from peasantry, which I kind of like. I mean, the newcomer warrior is... I mean, the 40% melee attack rate is good. But I want that population growth. So I think we're going to go for Zhenwen. She's in, and as soon as we get the money, we're going to marry her. Oh, it's going to be a fantastic event, and you're all invited. But that is going to have to wait until next time. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.